I used to work at a Walmart. The Walmart I worked at was open 24 hours back then. Due to my kids' school schedule, I would work overnight shifts so that I would be available to drop him off and pick him up. I would do a 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift every night during the day. I sleep, take care of my son and work. My second job, some days I was exhausted a lot during this time in my life. It wasn't a great time. I had to do what I could to cover rent, though this Walmart was one of the bigger ones. It was a super center, not just a grocery store, so it had everything. It was one of the few open 24 hours around here. I think Co changed that though when I got there. Around 10 o'clock this one cold night, there was still a decent amount of shoppers in the store. A lot of people would come in for some late night shopping. As the hours would pass, it would of course quiet down tremendously. The late hours of the night would attract a lot of weirder characters, weirder than the usual ones during the day. Into the late hours of the night, there was only one person working the front of the store, and he or she would be at the self checkout registers. There were no regular registers open this late. There would also be a couple of stock workers on the floor, which was what I did then. There would be a couple warehouse workers in the back who I really didn't ever interact with. They did their own thing. There would be a couple warehouse workers. And then there's just the night manager who I really didn't on duty. I was in the cereal aisle doing their own thing. My usual stock work. I noticed a customer on duty walked past the aisle. Then seconds later, he stepped back into view at the end of the aisle, stopped and looked down at me. When I looked back at him, he started looking at the cereal. The guy had curly hair. I couldn't gauge his ethnicity. Honestly, he had a black backpack on that. The guy had looked like it was stuffed to the brim. With God knows what, he awkwardly lingers in the cereal aisle for a minute, apparently looking at the granola bars. Then he came a little closer to me and asked me where the bread is. I pointed him in the right direction. He said thanks and slowly walked away out of the I watched him walk away, and he said thanks, a very noticeable waddle in his walk. When he was out of sight, he was out of mind, though the problem was that he wasn't out of sight for long. I was in the cereal aisle for quite some time, and I started noticing that every few minutes that guy would slowly pass by the aisle looking down in this direction. He wasn't holding anything. He didn't get any bread. He just had on his big sketchy backpack. I started working faster just so I could finish this aisle and move away from him. When I was done, I thought the empty UO platform back to the warehouse, where I grabbed another empty U-boat platform full of boxes ready to stock. I purposely picked an aisle far away from the cereal aisle. I was now in the chips aisle. This is also about 45 minutes after initial contact with that guy, so there should have been no way he was still here. But I was wrong. He found me. I was rotating newer bags of chips behind the older ones on the shelf, and then I looked to my right, and that guy was at the end of the aisle creeping again. He still had nothing in his hands. This man had been creeping around the store for almost an hour. He then finally approached me as I was dreading he would. I tried to look away until he started to speak. I don't remember word for word what he said, but basically he said that his beak checking me out, and he couldn't resist coming up to me telling me how beautiful I am. I responded as politely as I could. I did a fake little laugh and said no. Thank you, that's very sweet. He didn't stop there though. He asked a bunch of personal questions like where I'm from. I gave fake answers to everything. This guy absolutely read me, and his breath was awful. I was genuinely repulsed. He asked for my number, and I said I'm seeing someone. He said there's nothing wrong with us, just being friends to
He
get
asked
him
for
to
my
leave
number,
me.
and I said I'm seeing
Alone, I
someone.
gave him a fake number. I then
He said there's nothing
told
wrong
him
with
I
us
really
just
can't
being
be talking
friends.
to
To
anyone
get
while
him
I'm
to
working.
leave
He
me
begged
alone,
some
I gave him a fake
creepy
number.
comment before walking
I then
away,
told him I really can't
thinking
be
he
talking
was
to
all
anyone
suave
while
that
I'm
he
working.
got my number,
He made
when in
some
reality
creepy
he
comment
was
before walking
genuinely
away, thinking
creepy,
he was
and I
all
gave him a
suave
fake
that he got my number.
I thought that
When
would
in
be the end.
reality, he was genuinely
A bit hours
creepy,
went
and
by
I gave
and
him a
time
fake
felt like
number.
it was
I thought
going
that
in
would be
reverse.
the
I
end
wanted
of
to
it.
go home, then
Hours
the
went
only other
by,
stop
and
where
time
on
felt like it was going
the
in
job
reverse.
at that hour. Suddenly,
I wanted to go home.
walkie-talkie to me saying there's
That
some
the only other stock
creepy-looking
worker
guy
on the
asking
job
for
at
me.
that
I
hour
said,
suddenly
"Oh
walkie-talkie
no,"
to
and then
me,
told her to
saying
tell
there's
him
some
I
creepy-looking guy
left. I
asking
then
for
basically
me.
made a bane
I
for
said, "Oh no."
the employee
I
lounge
told her to
where
tell
I
him
planned
I
on
left.
hiding for a while. I made it to
Basically
the
made a beeline for the
lounge and
employee
then
lounge.
sat in one of the
where I
seats.
planned on hiding for
Then
a
the
while.
double doors opened and in
I
came
made it to the lounge.
that guy.
And
He
sat
looked
in
at
one
me
of the
and he looked
seats.
angry.
When
He
the
yelled,
double
"You
doors
gave me a fake."
opened, and in
Number
came
you. I
that
think
guy.
I swallowed my
He looked at
gum
me,
out of fear.
and he looked angry.
I said, "You can't be back
He
here,
yelled,
sir."
"You
He
gave me a fake number,
then
you
took off his
bitch."
backpack and plopped
I think I swallowed
it on
my
the
gum
table
out
next
of
to mine.
fear.
He started
I said, "You can't
unzipping
be
it as
back
he
here,
looked at me.
sir."
That's
He then
when
took
it was
off
time
his
for me to go. I
backpack
got
and
up
plopped it on the table
and
next
ran
to
past
mine.
him without thinking.
He
He
started unzipping it
tried
as
to
he
grab
looked
my
at
arm,
me.
but he failed as I
That's when it was time for me
ran
to
through
go.
the store. I looked back
I
and
got up and ran past
saw
him
he was
without
running after me.
thinking.
I ran to the
He tried to grab
front
my
of the
arm,
store
but he
and
failed.
outside to my car.
As I ran through the
It was the
store,
only thing I
looked
could think
back
to
and saw he was running
do
after
in the
me.
moment. Alternatively, I
I
could
ran to the front of the store
tried
and
finding the
outside
mail
to my
warehouse.
car. It was the
Work
only
workers
thing
in
I
the
could
back
think
or
to
even
do in
the
the moment.
manager, but that was no
Alternatively, I
guarantee.
could have
I
tried
got
finding the mail
my
warehouse
car and
workers
saw
in
the
the
man
back,
leave the
or even the manager.
Walmart looking
but that
for me.
was
He
no
was slow. He
guarantee.
must have been
I
on
got to my
something. He
car
saw
and saw the
my
man leave the Walmart
card, but it
looking
was too
for me.
late. I was
He
already
was slow. He must have
driving
been on
away. I
something.
called the night manager
He saw my car,
and let him
but
know
it was
what just
too
went
late.
down and
I was already driving
that I'm
away.
not comfortable staying
I
there.
called the night manager
Tonight,
and
I
let him
also
know what
warned him
just
of the
went
man
down, and that I'm
with a
not comfortable
backpack full of
staying there
unknown
tonight.
contents.
I also
My
warned
manager
him
told
of the
me I
man
can't
with a
leave the
backpack full of unknown
Place short-staffed. He
contents.
said he'd call
My manager told me I
police
can't
to make
leave
sure
the
the
place
man doesn't
short-staffed.
come
He
back,
said he'd
and he
call
told
the
me
police
to
to
come
make sure the man doesn't come
back.
back.
I was adamant
He
about
told me
not
to come
returning.
back. I
That
was
night, though,
adamant
he
about
eventually
not
got
returning that night, though.
message and said
He
he'd
eventually
review the
got the
camera
message and said he'd
footage,
review the
but that I
camera
need to come
footage,
back
but that I need to
tomorrow
come back
night,
tomorrow
and I did. He
night.
allegedly
And I did.
notified the police
He
the next day of
allegedly
the
notified the police
man
the
and
next
gave the
day of
police
the man,
department
and
the
gave the police department
surveillance
the surveillance
footage. I met a lot of
I met a lot of
characters working the
characters
job,
working
but
that
this guy
job. But this guy was
by
far
far the scariest. I don't know
I don't know
what he was reaching for in his backpack. I don't want to
either.
either. I was 14 when this happened. There's a Walmart that's walking distance to my house. I used to sometimes go there to buy clothing and such before I was
14 when this happened.
driving age, since it was so
There's
close.
a Walmart that's walking
Sometimes I
distance
go
to
with my
house.
friend Emily.
I used to
Sometimes I just
there
go
to buy
alone. The
clothing
Walmart
and
is
such before I was of
part of the
driving
nearby
age,
mall, but the
since
mall
it was so close.
kind of stinks now.
Sometimes
Most
I
of the
go with
good
my friend Emily.
stores I've
Sometimes I just
closed
go
over the
alone.
years, plus I
The Walmart is part
wasn't
of the
made of
nearby
money when I
mall,
was 14.
but the mall kind of stinks
Walmart
now.
is cheap. One night
Most
I
of the
walked
good
to
stores have closed over the
Walmart
years.
with my AirPods in its ear.
Plus, I wasn't made of money when I was
15-minute
14.
walk. When I put my
Walmart
AirPods
is
in,
cheap.
I shut out
One
everything
night
else
I
around
walked to
me.
Walmart with my AirPods
I feel
in.
like most people with
It's a
basic social
15-minute walk.
awareness know
When I
that
put
if
my
someone's
AirPods
wearing
in, I shut out everything
headphones, it
else
means they
around
don't
me.
want to
I feel like
have to
most
take them
people
out to
with
talk to
basic
you. I
social awareness know
was
that
minding
if
my
someone's
business
wearing
in
headphones,
Walmart
it means they don't want to
girls'
have to
clothing
take them out to
department when
talk
I
to you.
noticed a
I
guy
was
next to me
minding my
saying
business in Walmart
something
in
I
the girls'
couldn't hear what he
clothing
was
department. And
saying,
I
but it
noticed
looked
a guy
like he was
next to me
talking
saying something.
to me. I took
I
out my
couldn't hear what
AirPods
he
and I
was
said,
saying, but it looked
"Are
like
you
he was
talking to
talking
me?"
to me.
He said
I
yes.
took out
He
my
was this shorter
AirPods,
man with
and I said, "Are
grey
you
hair
talking
who
to
looked
me?"
like 50. He
I
had
said yes.
glasses and a
He was the
clean-shaven
shorter
face.
man
He
with gray hair. who
smiled
looked
and
like
said, "Sorry,
50.
I didn't see
He
your
had glasses and a
headphones phone sure he
clean-shaven
didn't. He said he
face.
was
He smiled
just
and
telling
said,
me how his
"Sorry, I
daughter
didn't
buys
see your headphones."
the same exact
Sure
kind
he
of
didn't.
jeans I was
He said he was
wearing.
just
I had
telling
no
me how
idea
his
why he
daughter
was
buys
telling
the same exact kind
this,
of
but I'm a
jeans I
very
was
polite
wearing.
person too.
I had
Everybody,
no
I
idea
always
why
have
he
been,
was
so I
telling me
chose
this, but I'm a
be
very
kind to
polite
him by
person
laughing
to
and saying,
everybody. I
"Oh,
always
that's funny,
have
that should
been.
have been
So I chose
the
to
end
be
of an
kind to
interaction
him
that
by
didn't
laughing and saying,
need to happen."
"Oh,
But
that's
of course
funny."
this
That
Wouldn't
should
be a
have been
story
the
if
end
it
of
was
an
I was
interaction that didn't need
still
to
looking
happen.
through this rack of
But
tops.
of course, this
As
wouldn't
the
be a
man kept
story
trying
if
to
it
talk to me,
was.
he mistook my
Still
kindness for
looking
actual
through this
interest.
rack of tops.
In talking
The
to him
man
clearly,
kept
he
trying
asked
to
my
talk to me.
age, and I said
Mistook
14,
my
and his
kindness
response
for
was
actual interest in talking to
unsettling.
him.
He basically
clearly.
said, "Oh, what age?"
He asked my age.
Great age,
and I
so
said
mature,
14.
but still so young.
His response was
He asked my
unsettling.
name for some reason.
He basically
actually
said,
gave him
"Oh,
my
what a
real name,
great
and his
age. So
response to
mature,
my name
but
was, "Wow,
still
that's
so
mine."
young."
Favorite
He
name
asked
for a
my
girl.
name.
Next up, he
For some reason,
asked
I
what
actually
school I
gave
went
him
to
my
and
real
around.
name.
Now
And
was
his
when I
response
decided to
to my
start
name
making
was, "Wow, that's
things
my
up." I said,
favorite
"I'm
name
actually
for a
not
girl."
from around
Next
here.
up,
I'm just
he asked
visiting
what
my
school
cousin."
I went to.
He couldn't let
Around
it go
now
though,
is when
and
I
he
decided to start making
persisted
things
asking
up.
where I'm from. I
I
said,
said I'm actually
"I'm
not
from
from
out of
around
state,
here.
keeping
I'm
it
just
vague."
visiting my cousin.
But then he said, "I've seen
Couldn't
you
let
around
it go though, and he
here before. Are you
persisted,
sure you're not from
asking where I'm from.
around here?" I looked at
I
him
said
and
I'm from
tried
out
to
of state, keeping
think of
it
a
vague.
response, but instead I ended
Then he said,
up
"I've
turning
seen
around
you
and
around
walking
here
away
before.
from
Are you
him. I
sure
was
you're
for the
not from
first time
around
ever
here?"
ever actually
I
made
looked at
very
him and
uncomfortable
tried to
by
think
a
of a response.
stranger. The way he said he'd
Instead,
seen me
I ended up turning
before made
around
me
and
feel as though
walking
he'd
away
been
from him.
watching
I
me
was
or
for the
paid
first
attention to
time
me
ever
in
actually made
this
very
Walmart before
uncomfortable
I
by
went to
a
buy the
stranger.
jeans
The
I
way
was
he
holding
said
at the
he'd
front of
seen
the
me before made
Walmart.
me feel
Then I
as
walked
though
through the
he'd
store.
been watching me.
To enter the
paid
mall, it was
attention to
November
me in
or
this Walmart before.
December, and they had just put
I
up the
went to buy the jeans I
Christmas
was holding at the
decorations, so I
front of
wanted
the
to
Walmart. Then
walk
I walked
through,
through
and I
the
also
store
wanted
to
to see
enter the
if
mall.
any new
It was
stores open since
November
my
or
shopping
December, and they had just
Walmart
put up
was
the
come
Christmas
short. I walked through
decorations, so I wanted
the
to
mall
walk
with really
through.
nothing catching
And I
my
also wanted to see if
I
any
went
new
into a
stores
Victoria's
opened,
Secret,
since
and
my shopping in
while
Walmart was
inside
cut
of there, I
short.
saw through the
I walked through
glass
the
that
mall,
guy
with
from
really
Walmart
nothing
sitting on
catching
a
my eye.
bench in the mall
Went
outside
into a
of the
Victoria's Secret.
Victoria's Secret.
While
I left the
inside of
store
there,
and
I saw through
started
the
walking
glass
very quickly
that
through
guy
the
from Walmart
mall. When I
sitting on
turned
a
around
bench
and
in the
saw he
mall
was
outside of the
now
Victoria's
walking behind me,
Secret.
I started to panic.
I left the store
And called my
started
mom asking
walking
her for a
very
ride
quickly through the mall.
because I was being
When I
followed by a
turned
man.
around and saw he was
Took
now
her
walking
advice and
behind
waited in
me.
a store.
I started to panic
multiple
and
people
called my
inside. He
mom
came
asking
to
her for a ride
the
because I
entrance
was
of the
being
store and
followed
he
by a man.
creepily said
I
my
took
name
her
in this way
advice
that
and waited in a
he
store
clearly
with
didn't want a
multiple
lot of
people inside.
people to hear
He
him. I
came to
started
the
to
entrance
feel
of the store.
sick.
And
I
he
went to the
creepily
cashier and
said
said,
my
"This
name in this way that he
man is
clearly
following me. I
didn't
don't
want a
know
lot
him."
of people to hear him.
Some customers overheard
I
and looked
started
over,
to feel sick.
and the man clearly
Went to the
noticed and
cashier
started
and said, "This man is
walking away
following
into
me.
the mall." The
I
cashier,
don't know him."
who was probably
Some
only
customers
20 years
overheard
old,
and looked over.
herself
The man
sympathized with
clearly
the couple,
noticed and started
even
walking
came over
away
and
into
said
the
they'd wait
mall.
with
The
me until
cashier,
my
who
mom
was
got here. My
probably
mom
only
came
20 years old
into the
herself,
mall eventually, and I
sympathized
left
with
with
me.
her,
The
thanking the
couple
couple
even
who
came
waited
over
with
and said they'd wait
me. I
with
didn't
me
go to
until
the
my
mall
mom
that
got here.
Walmart
My
alone
mom
anymore.
came
I
into
didn't
the
even
mall
go
eventually, and I
back
left
with
with
friends
her,
for a long time.
thanking the couple who waited
I hope
with
that guy
me.
got caught being a creep.
I didn't go to the mall
has been
or that
taken off the
Walmart alone anymore.
music.
I didn't even
Streets,
go
my
back
worst
with
job
friends
ever
for a
was
long
working at
time either.
Walmart. I worked
I
there
hope
only for
that
a
guy
few
got caught being a
months. I
creep
hated
and has
every
been
minute of
taken
it.
off the streets.
Honestly, I didn't get along with a lot of my co-workers. The customers were crazy and weird, and I felt like a lot of people just generally were unfriendly. I was 24, and Walmart was my second
My
job
worst job
to
ever
make
was
ends meet with
working
my
at
new
Walmart.
apartment.
I worked there
Sometimes
only
I'd work
for a
register,
few
sometimes
months.
I'd work the
hated
desk
every
outside the
minute of
fitting
it, honestly.
room, and sometimes
I
I'd
didn't get
work
along with a lot of my coworkers.
sales associate. On this day, I was
Customers
a
were crazy and
general
weird,
associate
and I felt like
walking
a lot of
around
people just
place
generally were
assisting customers
unfriendly.
and straightening things on the
24.
shelves. I
Walmart was my second
interacted
job
with a
to
bunch
make
of
ends
people
meet
that
with my new apartment.
day. I still remember dealing with
Sometimes
some
I'd work register,
the dumbest customers
sometimes
I'd ever
work the
had.
desk outside the
The
fitting
displeasure
room,
of
and
interacting with
sometimes
them.
I'd work general
Nothing
sales
could have prepared me
associate.
for who I
On this
was going to
day,
run
I
into
was a
that day. I
general
got a
associate,
random
walking
pad on
around
the
the
back,
place
and I turned
assisting customers and
around to see
straightening
my
things on the
ex-girlfriend Casey.
shelves.
She looked
I
super happy to
interacted
see
with a
me
bunch
and
of
went in
people that day.
for
I
a hug.
still
I was
remember
surprised
dealing
because
with
she
some of the dumbest
didn't live
customers
anywhere
I'd
near
ever
here,
had
I
the
asked.
displeasure of
What
interacting
brought
with,
her here? And she
but
said
nothing could have prepared me for
heard through
who
a
I was
mutual
going to run
friend
into
that I
that day.
she started working
Got
here
a
recently.
random
Casey.
pat on the back.
I did not
turned
leave off on
around
good
to see
terms
my
at all.
ex-girlfriend
She
Casey.
had been harassing me for
She
a
looked
while.
super happy to see
Since I
me
had
and
broken
went
up
in
with
for
her
a
when I
hug.
had
I was
to end up
surprised
blocking her
because
on
she didn't
everything
live
to
anywhere near here.
get her to stop.
I asked
She
what
was
brought
insanely
her here.
controlling throughout.
She said she heard
Her
through a
relationship
mutual
and
friend that
downright
I started
obsessive.
working here recently.
Bipolar and paranoid, and after I
Casey
ended
and I did not leave
things
off
with her,
on
she
good
wouldn't
terms
stop
at
trying.
all. She had been
contact me
harassing
and
me
meet up
for a
with me
while
too.
since I had broken
Talk
up with
things out
her.
even though we
I had to
hadn't.
end up blocking
Talk
her on
things out
everything to
multiple
get her to
times.
stop.
Even
She was
left multiple
insanely
voicemails
controlling
crying
throughout
out.
her relationship.
Take no joy in any
downright
of that I don't say.
obsessive, bipolar,
Any of this
and
to belittle her
paranoid.
or make a
And after I ended
joke of
things
mental
with
illness,
her,
but she has
wouldn't stop trying to
issues, and I
contact
came
me
to
and
learn
meet up
that,
with
and
me
I
to talk things out.
had to tell her
Even
multiple
though we
times
had
her
talked things out multiple
behavior
times.
is not normal. Her finding out
She
I
even left multiple
got this job and
voicemails
coming to
crying.
my place of
I
work
take
I was
no
not okay
joy
with,
in
even
any
though
of
I
that. I don't
hugged
say
her
any
back
of this
and
to
was cordial
belittle
at
her
first.
or make a joke
In
of
this
mental
interaction, I
illness,
eventually
but
cut
she
her
has issues,
crap
and
and
I
said,
came
"Why
to
are you
learn
here?" The
that.
fake
And I had to tell her
friendliness
multiple
stopped here on
times her
both sides.
behavior is not normal.
Her face got more serious,
Her
and
finding
she
out I got this job
started
and
telling me
coming
that
to
it's
my
really
place of work, I
messed
was
up
not
that I block
okay
her out
with.
of my
Even
life
though
like
I
this. I
hugged her
told her
back
this is
and
the
was cordial at
exact
first in
kind
this
of behavior that made
interaction,
me
I eventually
block her
cut the
showing up
crap
to
and
my
said,
job is
"Why are
not
you here?"
normal. Then I started
Fake
asking her
friendliness
which
stopped here on both
mutual friend
sides.
told her that I
Her face got more
worked here. She
serious.
claimed that
She started telling me that it's
irrelevant, and I
really
assured
messed
her it
up that I
must.
block her out of my
Certainly
life
it's
like
not
this.
irrelevant because I
I told her this is
disbelieve
the
that
exact
anyone told
kind of
her.
behavior that made
Where
me
I work,
block
I
her.
had broken up with Casey
Showing up to my job is
many
not
months
normal.
ago. She should have had no
Then I started
way of
asking
knowing
her
about my
which
new job
mutual
or
friend told her that I
apartment,
worked
and I was
here.
confident none of my
She claimed that's
friends
irrelevant.
were even in contact
I
with her.
assured her it most
Anymore,
certainly
I
is
told
not
her I'm seeing
irrelevant
someone
because I didn't
else now. I
believe
have
that
to get
anyone
back to
told her
work.
where I work.
Please leave and don't
I
contact
had
me
broken
again.
up with Casey many
She refused
months
to
ago.
leave, so I simply
She
just
should have had no way of
started
knowing
walking
about
away
my
to an
new job
employee's
or apartment.
own
And
area.
I was
She didn't follow me
confident
back
none
there.
of my friends were even in
It was at
contact
this moment
with
I
her
actually
anymore.
started
I
considering
told her
trying
I'm
to get a
seeing
restraining
someone else now.
order
I have
after
to
my
get back
shift
to
was
work.
over. It had to
Please leave and
be
don't
like 11
contact me
p.m.
again.
closing time. I left
She
the
refused
store and
to
went
leave,
straight home.
so
My
I simply just started
roommate
walking
was home.
away
His
to
car
an
was in the
employees-only area.
driveway. I parked next
She
to him
didn't
and went
follow me back there.
inside. I went
It was
straight
at
to the
this
kitchen
moment
to
I actually started
make myself a
considering
late dinner,
trying to
as I
get a
always
restraining order.
would after closing shifts.
After
I
my shift
microwaved
was over, it had
some
to be
frozen
like
meal
11
and went to the
p.m.
living
closing time.
room to play video games
Left
for
the store and
while.
went straight home.
This was my only time
My
to
roommate
unwind
was
and
home.
do
His car was in the
what
driveway.
I wanted. I played for maybe an
I
hour,
parked next to him
then went to
and
bed. I
went
woke
inside.
up not long
I went
after falling
straight to the
asleep. I
kitchen to
thought I
make
heard
myself a late dinner
something.
as
I
I
looked
always
up and
would
realized
after
my
closing shifts.
bedroom door was open. I
I
definitely
microwaved
did
some frozen meal
not do
and
that.
went to
My
the
roommate
living
Paul
room to
goes to
play
bed
video games.
really early because
For
he
a
works
while,
early
this
and
was my only time
there's
to
no chance he'd
unwind
just
and
get
do
up
what I
and
wanted.
randomly
Played
open
for
my door. I
maybe an
got up
hour,
and
then went to bed.
walked out into the living
I
room. I
woke up
turned
not long after
on a
falling
lamp
asleep.
and looked around the place. I
I thought I heard something.
went over to the front door and it
I
was
looked up and realized
unlocked.
my
What the
bedroom
hell
door
was going
open.
on? I
I
was thinking,
definitely
did Paul
did
leave?
not
I
do
looked
that.
out the
My
window and
roommate
saw that
Paul
his
goes
car
to
was
bed really early because
still
he
there. I
works
locked the
early.
front door then.
There's no chance he'd
I
just
went to
get
his
up
bedroom
and
door
randomly
and
open
tried
my door.
opening it. It was
I
locked.
got
I
up
knocked
and
on
walked out into the
the
living
door lightly
room.
once and he
I
didn't
turned on a lamp and
respond,
looked
so
around
he
the
was
place.
asleep. I was
went over
genuinely
to the front
confused. I
door,
went
and it was
out
unlocked.
front and looked under the pot where
What the hell was going on?
we kept a hidden spare.
I was thinking, did Paul leave? I looked out the window and saw that his car was still there. I locked the front door. Then I went to his bedroom door and tried opening it. It was locked. I knocked on the door lightly once, and he didn't respond, so he was asleep. I was genuinely confused. I went out front and looked under the pot where we kept a hidden spare key.
It wasn't
there.
there. My heart was in my throat
throat at this point.
That the only
The only
person
person in this world besides
besides
Paul
Paul
and my family
who
knows that I
knows
like to hide a spare key
as I
outside
like to hide a
is
spare
Casey.
key outside.
I checked at
Is
least
Casey?
5
I checked
times
at
under
least
the
5
pot,
times.
even checking the
Under the
surrounding
pot, even
area
checking
on the
the
chance that maybe he was kicked
surrounding
out of
area
place
on
or
the chance
something.
that maybe was
I went
kicked
back
out of
inside
place
the
or
house and shut the front
something.
door.
I went back inside the
I went
house
to the knife holder in the
and
kitchen.
shut the front door. I
The
went to
biggest
the
knife was missing.
knife holder in the kitchen
My
and
phone
the
was still in my bedroom.
biggest knife was missing.
I
My
had to
phone
be smart
was
about this.
still in my bedroom. I had to
Tiptoed
be
to my
smart
bedroom door.
about
Till
this. I
was close
tiptoed to
enough
my
grab
bedroom
the
door
doorknob as fast as
till
I
I was
could
close
and
enough to
slam
grab
it
the
shut from the outside.
doorknob as fast as I could
I
and slam
screamed
it
as loud as I could
shut
for
from
Paul.
the outside. I
He
screamed as
erupted
loud
from his room, obviously
as I could for Paul. He
confused.
disrupted from
There were
years.
suddenly bangs on
Room
the bedroom
obviously
door from the
confused,
other
and there
side, along with
Suddenly
Casey's
bangs on the
voice
bedroom
saying,
door
"I'm
from
sorry, let's talk."
the other side, along with
I
Casey's
held the door
voice.
closed with all my
saying,
might
"I'm
as
sorry,
she
let's
kept
talk." I
trying to
held
pull
the
it open.
door closed
Paul
with all
called the
my might
police
as
as
she
I held the door.
kept trying to pull it
After
open.
a few
Paul
minutes
called.
of this, Casey
The
stopped
police as I
trying to
held the
pull the
door
door
after
open. She was hysterically
minutes of this,
crying on
Casey
the other
stopped
side
trying
of the door.
to pull the door
Finally,
open,
the
and
police
she was
arrived and came inside.
hysterically crying on
They
the other
moved away
side.
from the door.
The door
officers
finally, the
made
police
sure
arrived
Casey
and
dropped the knife before she
came
came
inside.
out.
I moved
She was,
away
of
from
course, arrested, and
door,
I
and
didn't
the
even have
officers
to
made
press
sure
charges.
Casey
She
dropped
was
the knife
charged by
before
the
she
state
came out.
for, I believe, burglary
She was of
in
course
the
arrested,
second
and I
degree.
didn't
She's
even
currently
have to
serving
press
a pretty
charges. She
lengthy
was
prison term for this.
charged by the state for, I
I'm
believe,
honestly shocked she didn't get
burglary
charged
in the
for
second
attempted
degree, and
murder.
she's
It's a sick
currently serving a
situation
pretty
all
lengthy
around.
prison
I don't know when
term for
she'll
this.
be
I'm
out.
honestly
I'll have been long
shocked she
moved
didn't
out
get
of this
charged
place
for
by then.
attempted
My
murder.
biggest
It's a
regret
sick
is
situation.
not catching the red flags
All
with
around,
her
I don't know
early
when
on.
she'll be out. I'll have been long moved out of this place by then. My biggest regret is not catching the red flags with her early. Music on.